Here.
Mr. Jim Elliott,
Here.
Mr. Joe Cobble,
Here.
Councilman Mr. McGrillis,
Here.
and I am the chairperson, Lee Capel of the Titusville Zoning Hearing Board. Skip, was timely notice given to about this hearing?
Skip Welling, zoning officer. Proper notice was given. Neighborhood letters were sent out on December 28th of 2020. Ms. Wright notified me she had not received a letter with the other batch, so hers was hand delivered on January 6th of 2021. On January 7th of 2021, it was posted on the building, posted at City Hall, and the first notice was in the Titusville Herald. On 1/14/2021, it was again posted in the Titusville Herald.
Okay, great. I'm going to explain the three things that we can do tonight. The board can grant or deny the request. The board can table the request for up to 45 days, and all board members must vote. If a board member has a conflict of interest, they may request to the board, and then they will, I'm sorry, hold on a second. They may represent it to the board, and the board will then vote, and they must recuse themselves or abstain. Does any board member have a conflict of interest?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And the matter now before us is the hand-in-hand counseling services is requesting a variance for the permitted uses as listed in R2 zone listed in Article 1305 of the Codified Ordinance of Titusville. Who is representing this case?
This is Darla Dodds from Hand in Hand.
Okay.
Is that who you're looking for?
I didn't know if there was an attorney or if you were going to be presenting. That's what I'm asking now. Yes.
It will be me.
Okay. Ask the stenographer to swear in the person. So would you please swear in who's going to give testimony, please?
Yes. Ms. Dodds, could you raise your right hand to be sworn?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Okay, now any information that you'd like to present, any documents, pictures, whatever, the floor is open to you to present your case now.
Okay. I don't have documents, but I'd like to speak if that's okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Thank you for getting us together for this hearing. I appreciate that. So Hand in Hand was formed in 2001 in Venango County. And we've had a relationship with the New Beginnings Church for quite some time. In fact, they mentored me as I began my counseling practice. And so in the relationship, whenever the church no longer decided to have church there, they've asked me to come to their building and see if we could provide services there. And so I want to tell you a little bit about the services. You already know about the zoning situation, that it's an R2 but we have, so we provide services to people who have mental health diagnosis. And a lot of people are very afraid of mental health diagnosis because the media and the movies have shown some pretty scary stuff about people. But I guess history-wise, I want to say that Hand in Hand started in the basement of a church, along with right next door to a child care center. So we were like one room away from a child care center. And then it went to, we had a home office, and so it was in my own neighborhood. And then we were in a physician's building with other physicians and professional offices. And currently we have our own building in Franklin. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want that in my neighborhood, or I don't want those kinds of things going on. And so what's happening is I just want to let you know we have a good track record, a 20-year track record of being a good neighbor with people. And the services that we're talking about would provide very little traffic, I guess, to the street, even though there's actually quite a bit of adequate parking there. There's no overnight services going on in our agency for that site. And so nobody would be spending the night. Nobody would be, it's not a home for anybody. It's a place where people can come and have classes during the day in order to be able to learn skills, to get back into life again, back into work, back into school, learn how to be a good neighbor, get apartments, those types of things. So we teach people how to kind of take back what the mental illness has stolen for them. And we also have a heart for young people. So we've had a plan for like a success university for quite some time, where kids from 10th grade up to 20 something would be able to come. You know, a lot of them say, I don't know how to do this adulting thing, or I don't know, where I'm going to go in my future. I don't know what kind of choices I have. So we provide, through small groups and teaching opportunities, we provide those kind of skills to help kids learn how to think about those choices and be able to do that. I guess that's kind of that in a nutshell. Is most of the things we do are skills teaching. And so being a mental health professional and having a team of mental health professionals, we can help with things that a lot of people are struggling with, especially in today's COVID world. We have a lot of people who are struggling with loneliness, and the outcome of this COVID thing could be that we have a whole lot of people who are really lost and lonely. I'm concerned we're going to have kids as young as 11 years old committing suicide. And so we just want to be that presence in the community, to have a mental health, somebody who's qualified in mental health, to be able to help people with day-to-day kind of things. And I guess I'm going to stop there because I feel like I'm talking a lot. So.
Okay, Skip, there were exhibits presented to you, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Skip Welling, zoning inspector. We also have Julie Lamberthan here. Are you testifying or are you witnessing on her behalf?
I'm testifying.
Okay, I think she would like to testify on behalf of the council. So I'm going to give up my seat, let her sit down, and you could swear her in next.
Okay.
Can you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you state your name?
Julie Lambertson.
Can you spell the last name?
Sure. Lamberson.
Okay.
Okay, if you want, you can go ahead and say, get on with what you wanted to say.
Okay. I am the pastor at New Beginning Church of God. And when we purchased that building and got into the building, it was, I believe it was roughly November of 2012. And just after they went into the building, I started helping the pastor who was there. And then after about a year, I became the campus pastor. And so I was there for around 5 or 6 years. And prior to coming to that location, the church had begun a campus in Titusville at the roller skating rink because they were having trouble finding a place that was available that would work for the church, parking and all the other things that that you consider. And so for a few years they were meeting at the roller skating rink, and then came across the church on Elman Perry Street. And so we talked with there was a group that was meeting there, but there was probably less than a dozen people. So the church was, slowly dying, which is a lot of what we see. And so our hope was that we could, come to the area, bring something that we had in Titus or in Meadville, and start a campus in Titusville. And our campus in Meadville does very well. We also have in the campus in Meadville, we have a counseling center. And I'd like to say that that's probably one of our best assets that our church has. When you think about it, people who are coming to receive counseling see that the church is there and available. People who come to church who are struggling and have problems, we have a counseling center that if we can't help them and they need some more extended help, we have the counseling center. And so the same thing in Titusville. When we came to Titusville, we knew that that counseling and helping people on more than just a Sunday morning is sometimes what's needed. And so it was actually part of our vision. If we could get the church up and going well and sustaining itself, our vision was down the road to have a counseling center. And so I would just say that seeing hand in hand and talking with them, it definitely was part of what the church New Beginnings had as a mission. And so when you think about what they offer and what we as the church offer, it's very similar. We have people, I mean, not everybody who comes into the church is all put together and has no problems. Problems are everywhere. And so we want to, help them both spiritually, but then help them in other places too. And so I think we've been a good neighbor. That's not to say that 100% of the people in the neighborhood loved having us there. We had a few people who spoke out. One time, we had someone write a letter to the church and say that, they got blocked in to their driveway. It was in the middle of winter. We had a lot of snow, and I'm sure that whoever the person was didn't realize that that was the driveway. That happened one time. We put in a playground in the last few years, trying to help out the neighbors, and we've seen a lot of children who have come and played on that playground. And so again, what hand in hand is talking with after school programs very much aligns with what the church did. Recently, I got a phone call from one of the neighbors, and they wanted to be able to share with me their concerns. And so as I listened to them, we continue to want the best for Titusville and the community. And so as I listen to some of the concerns, I hope that they understand that some of the things that they are concerned with, I really don't believe are an issue that will happen. One of the things that was mentioned was, we don't want something there that is ongoing 24 hours a day. Hand in hand is not a 24-hour-a-day program. It's very similar to what the church had going on. They will have programs going on during the day and then also in the evenings, just like we did. We had AA meets there. They continue to meet there on a weekly basis. And this neighbor said that they love having AA there. Well, that wouldn't change. Those types of things wouldn't change. One of the things that they mentioned was it's a business and it doesn't belong in residential. And if you look where the church is located, in just a few blocks, 1 block away is the Titusville Hospital, which is a business. A few blocks away is a funeral home, a police and fire department, a dental office, 5 churches, a doctor's office. And so I appreciate and can understand what this individual is saying, but at the same time, I also recognize that there are multiple businesses that are around that area. The other issue that I talked with this neighbor is, you know, is that the building has been vacant. That's a detriment to the neighborhood to have a vacant building. And really want to get someone very similar to what the church was doing. And her comment was that, you know, they loved the church. They loved that we were there. And I'm glad to hear that. But not everybody felt the same, and we're not always going to all agree. But I think we were a good neighbor, and I think Helping Hands wants to be that same good neighbor.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anyone else that wanted to give a sworn statement? Okay, Skip, if you can enter the exhibits, we can go through them now, please.
Skip Welling, zoning inspector. If you want to go ahead and
Excuse me one moment.
I can't hear you.
Excuse me one moment. This is Don Frazier. At what point in time can I put some input in?
Towards the end, Mr. Frazier.
Thank
We'll
you.
be taking public input after Skip does the exhibits, and then we have board questions, then we can go to public input. Okay?
Okay, Skip Welling, zoning inspector. I'm going to present the exhibits. I also have some letters to read, so I'd like to be sworn in for that.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Okay. I need you to speak a little bit louder. Sometimes you're cutting out, and there's a couple people that are not muted, and you keep rustling papers or moving your background, and it keeps cutting in and out of the speakers. So anybody else who's not a speaker or board member, I need you to mute yourself temporarily, please.
Okay, we ready to proceed?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Exhibit A is the current zoning ordinance. According to the table listed in 1305.02B of the codified ordinance of Titusville, districts designated for residential uses are for dwellings and uses normally associated with residential neighborhoods. Such uses include schools, churches, and parks. R2, two-family residential districts are for single, two-family, and limited multi-family residential developments of low to moderate density. Home occupations and complementary uses are also permitted. Counseling services are not included or permitted in the permitted uses or special exceptions listed in Table 204 of Article 1305 of the codified ordinances of Titusville. And to the board members, the next 2 pages are copies of that. Moving on to Exhibit B, parking requirements. According to the table listed in 1309.02B of the codified ordinances of the city of Titusville, professional services, business services, and offices require 1 parking spot per 500 square feet of floor area. I did go on to the site Daft Logic and estimated the square footage to be at 5,597 square feet, which would require between 11 and 12 parking spaces. And you will see the attached printouts of that next, along with the ordinance requiring parking. Okay. The next exhibits are letters from residents that were unable to attend the meeting tonight, either because it was Zoom or because of a scheduling conflict. So I'll be entering those letters for them. Exhibit C is a letter from Norm Pattison. He lived at 213 West Elm Street. His letter states, I vehemently object to the use of the property at 220 West Elm Street by Hand in Hand Christian Counseling, LLC, for counseling services, social services, classes, and help with basic needs to persons with mental health diagnosis. This is a quiet residential neighborhood, and I do not want the excess traffic and activity in this nice residential neighborhood that will be created by the proposed hand-in-hand activities. I request the Titusville Zoning Board deny the variance as requested by Hand in Hand. And again, that was Norm Patterson of 213 West Elm. Moving on, Exhibit D is a letter from Nancy Wright. And I want to clarify in this, somehow Nancy didn't get the original letter that was sent out. So I hand delivered the second letter, and I gave her an email copy, digital copy, and she received them all within the required timelines. Her letter is dated January 6th, 2021. Her address is 215 West Elm Street. Dear Zoning Board, apparently the buzz in our neighborhood is about a variance to the terms of the Titusville zoning ordinance located at 220 West Elm Street. I'm concerned because I live directly across the street from the property, and I yet did not receive notice in advance of this meeting. If it were not for my neighbors looking out for the good of our quiet, safe neighborhood, I would have not been informed of the Hand in Hand Christian Counseling LLC of Franklin's request. I'm assuming my letter was lost in the mail, ? Am I even on your mailing list, ? I am not in favor of you granting a variance for the building permit, signs, wheelchair ramps, adapted restrooms, etc. for any licensed business, let alone drug, alcohol, and mental health facilities so close to our homes. There are a number of vacant businesses around this town that will provide the necessary office space, parking lots, restrooms, counseling rooms, social rooms, etc. for all of their business needs. It is unfathomable that they are not searching for a suitable space within our business district and supporting our local business area. Additionally, there must be numerous open doctor's offices and parking spaces available in our local hospital 2 blocks away to support the mental health needs of their clients. These doctors would surely be supported in the medical community and have ample parking spaces available with wheelchair accessible entries, exits, adapted restrooms, trained security guards, etc. If a Christian environment is what they seek, then surely they can locate existing office space, wheelchair accessible ramps, handicapped access restrooms, off-street parking lots, if they only look at existing churches with available space who want them. Please forward any important information, Zoom meetings, logins to my address, and I will surely attend the meetings to protect my neighborhood. Thank you, Mr. Skipwellian, for attaching the information to the letter and allowing us the ability to speak. I appreciate all of my neighbors who do not take our rural community for granted. Signed, Ms. Nancy Wright. Moving on to Exhibit E. This one is, okay, this is a petition. This petition is signed by 20 area residents, and the petition reads as follows. Dear Zoning Board and Zoning Officer, this letter is written in response to the notice of the application by Hand in Hand Counseling LLC to obtain a variance for the property located at 220 West Elm Street, Titusville, PA 16354, also identified as tax parcel number 5700-000-B-5-1. The undersigned represent owners of adjoining properties as well as surrounding area, which may be impacted by the variance. As a community, we encourage and welcome business growth. However, we feel any type of business at this location would create a hardship for the residents and decrease in property values. While the property was previously used as a church, the gathering of people was occasional and oftentimes during the weekend. We do not feel a business which keeps regular weekday business hours has a place in a residential area. The structure has no parking lot and on-street parking in front of private residences is available. Many of the residents have no or limited off-street parking and rely on the parking in front of the residence for convenience. And an additional concern is the intersection of West Elm Street and North Perry Street has limited sight when there are cars parked on both sides, thus creating a safety concern for traffic. Hand-in-Hand Counseling Services has locations in both Franklin and Oil City, both of which are located in an area zoned for business. We feel that there's enough available space in Titusville that they would be able to find a suitable location already zoned for business. Considering the possible clientele of a mental health counseling service, there's also a safety concern for residents of the area, including widows living alone or young children who would be playing in the area. We hope that with the concerns presented by the residents of the area, you will deny the request for zoning variance. Signed respectfully, the undersigned, and this is residents of the 200 and 300 blocks of West Elm Street, residents of the 600 and 700 blocks of North Perry Street. And I'm not going to go through the signatures. The board has copies of this with all the signatures. Exhibit F is the same petition. It must have been passed around by two separate people, I'm assuming, because it has 18 signatures on it that are different from the original 20. Exhibit G. Exhibit G it was provided by Judith Cochran of Cochran Real Estate. Ms. Cochran has also signed the petition in Exhibit F, and she has provided a list of alternative places and volunteered her services to help them find an alternative place. There's also a couple maps and diagrams of available buildings included with that exhibit. Moving on to Exhibit H. This is an objection letter from Judith Jones. Now, Ms. Jones also included some pictures. I don't think I was able to get copies of the pictures to all the board members because of the scanner being down here after she dropped it off. So I'll hold those pictures up after I read the letter. Her letter is dated January 19th, 2021. Her address is 508 North Perry Street. To all those that this may concern, this letter is in opposition to the request for the variance of the property located at 220 West Elm Street in Titusville, PA. This is a quiet residential area. My house is located on Perry Street, approximately 10 feet from the building. When I purchased my home, it was because it was a quiet area. Being next to a church has not been a problem for me. However, being next to a place of business is a problem. Property values in Titusville do not have a history of appreciating much. If this business is allowed, the value will decrease considerably. As in the pictures I've submitted, you can see just how close it is to my house. We have paid our taxes, gone by the rules, and tried with our neighbors to care for our neighborhood. Would any of you like to have a business 10 feet from your door? Once the variance is granted, any business could go in there. If the counseling business decides they don't like it there, what's next? I think it's time to step up to the plate and take seriously the rights of the neighborhood to stay residential. Finding out anything about this business has been difficult. Their web page hasn't been updated in at least 6 years. Most employee reviews were poor. We have not been given the forum to address these people. It feels that because of COVID-19, this is being rushed along with little regard to who it affects. I expect my city leaders to do the right thing for the residents of the city of Titusville and deny this variance. And this is signed Judith Jones, 508 Perry Street. And I'm now going to hold up the pictures that she included. I hope you all can see these. You can see how close she is right next door. This is looking out her window. Again, there you can see how close her house is. Oh, I'm sorry, this here picture is the one looking out her window. Give me a second. Right here. All right, moving on. Exhibit I. This letter is from Gail and Steve Cryan, dated January 19th, 2021. To whom it may concern, we have resided at 500 North Washington Street for the last 27 years, which is located a block from the church, seeking a zoning change to allow mental health counseling at their facility. Due to the nature of the neighborhood being strictly residential and family-oriented, this time we feel it would change the climate of the area unnecessarily. It is our opinion there is something to be said for an area to have a neighborhood feel to it, which I feel this residential locale emits. Our area tends to pay higher property taxes than much of the city, with exception to maybe Overlook or White Oak Drive. We feel this type of service would be better suited closer to the downtown area, where a foot traffic that is sure to follow for a counseling center would mesh better than in a residential area. The services that would be provided are a plus in any community, but we do not feel it would be incorporated into a residential area when better options are available. To make it very clear, we are opposed to the zoning being changed for hand-in-hand counseling facility and hope that the zoning board will deny this change. And it's signed Gail and Steve Cryan. And that concludes my testimony. I'm going to go ahead and mute.
Okay, I want to ask my fellow board members if anyone has any questions for anything that was just presented. We can do that now.
Hello, can you hear me, Lee?
Yes, I can.
This is James Elliott talking. I had a couple questions for the testimonies that were given and also from hand-in-hand counseling. I don't know if she went over it, but what were the hours that they were going to be open, and how many employees do they plan on employing?
All right, just had to get unmuted. So the hours are pretty much daytime hours, unless we're running an after-school program. So pretty similar to what an office would be, 8:30 to 4:30. Okay. If there was an after-school program, it would be more like 3:30 to maybe 5 or 6 o'clock, so we could feed the kids dinner.
Will you be open on the weekends?
Probably not.
Okay.
We're currently not open on the weekends in our other services.
How many employees will you have at this location?
Probably 2 to 4.
Okay, and then how many people do you plan on serving in the community, say, maybe on a weekly or monthly basis, or even daily?
Well, it's hard to tell. It sounds like the community's kind of pretty hostile towards it. So in a regular community where somebody might be pretty excited about the services, we might be able to serve in a week, you said?
Yeah.
So maybe 20 or 30 people across the week. 20
or 30, so that'd be, 4 to 6 a day by the sound
of
it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I have a question for Skip, or two questions actually. In one of the letters, it stated that if a variance is approved, that somebody going forward can use it later. Is that true?
That is correct, to the best of my knowledge. Once the zoning is changed, it stays with the property.
Okay, but is the zoning being changed or just a variance? This is just for a variance. It wouldn't.
Correct.
Okay, and then does that parcel, is that big enough to put in a parking lot that would be required?
The parcel next door with the swing set is actually owned by somebody different.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh,
we own
it's
it.
yours? Okay.
Yeah.
I stand corrected on that. So the parcel next door where the grass lot is, probably would be, I haven't taken measurements, but I'm sure it would fit a parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one last question I have. Just a block south of this location, there's a place, I believe it's called the New Life Care Center. It's at 220 West Spruce Street. Do you happen to know if they were required to have a variance to put the New Life Center into that location? I believe they were in there somewhere around 2019. And do you happen to know if they have off-street parking?
Personally, I don't know. That moved in, of course, before I took office here. So I don't know. I don't know the specifics on that. I would have to get that information and get back to you.
Okay, and one other question. Sorry, I know that this isn't a necessity to be answered from our last hearing, but somebody did mention that they paid high taxes. Do you happen to know what the amount of taxes that hand-in-hand counseling would, or whoever the property owner is of the church, if they'd be required to pay taxes, and if so, do you have an approximate amount that they would have to pay? I know it's just trivial, but it
Who
was
is that question for?
for you, Skip.
I have no idea.
Okay. Does Hand in Hand happen to know? Was that discussed with? Was it New Beginnings Church that owned the property?
New Beginnings currently still owns the property. At this point, we're leasing it from them.
Okay.
If we were to purchase the property, it would certainly bring in tax revenue for the city of Titusville.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions?
It was briefly discussed potential parking on an adjacent lot. Is that currently the plan to provide that, or is that just in the future? And also, that is technically a separate parcel. Is there plans to consolidate those lots into one parcel?
There were, that used to be the house on that.
Okay.
Can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear.
I'm getting the information for you right now. That is a separate parcel at this time. Do you have plans to consolidate it?
No,
No, there are no plans to consolidate the lots.
but those blocks will go to, like, it will go together, with hand in hand.
Okay, I'm being advised that they are, both lots are being rented to hand-in-hand counseling. However, there's no plans to go to the county and combine the lots into one.
Is there a plan to add parking on a lot to provide off-street parking?
And
We're certainly willing to, if that's the needs for the community. We would probably have to, that's currently grass. I suppose we'd probably have to gravel that in order to make it a parking lot. That could be something if the services were to take off and be beneficial there, we'd be glad to put a parking lot in.
if I can interject here, Skip Long, zoning inspector, that if you did put a parking lot in there, it would have to be paved with proper drainage.
Just a comment, if the church is not occupying the building as a church, is it not taxable then? Regardless, it's a pretty sticky subject, I know, about being tax exempt, so.
Skip Welling, zoning inspector. As that being owned by the church, they're not paying property taxes. They're exempted from that portion of it. However, hand in hand would have to pay their payroll taxes.
Who was speaking? I don't know who was just speaking.
Skip Welling, zoning inspector.
I'm
No,
sorry, it
before
was
you.
Bonnie Hall.
Thank you.
Bonnie Hall, yeah.
Hey, Bonnie, can you hear me okay? This is James Elliott talking.
Yes.
It's my understanding that once a nonprofit business or organization, once they are no longer occupying the property, then it's no longer tax exempt. That would be That would be per the Crawford County Assessment's Office. Anybody can call over there and verify that. So
I believe that was my understanding as well.
and then
Any other? Sorry.
sorry, hey Skip, one more thing. Sorry to bother you. If Hand in Hand was granted their variance and they agreed to put in a parking lot next door, wouldn't both parcels be required to be combined?
I do not know of any ordinance off the top of my head that would require them to be combined.
Okay. Thank
What we'd have to do is, Jim, is we'd have to look at the setback requirements and see what the setback requirements are and go from there.
Thank you.
So if you're going to pass this with a parking lot requirement, it may be something that needs to be tabled so we can look at the specifics on that.
Do you know how big the two lots are? Maybe for a frontage, what the frontage is? I mean, it's a corner lot or two corner lot. I mean, one corner lot. Do you know what the frontage is for the two lots on Elm Street and also the frontage for Perry Street?
Again, I don't have that information with me.
Okay. Thank you. That was James Elliott. Sorry.
Any other members have any questions?
Yeah, this is Joe Koval, Covell. My question was, what made you choose this location, and why does it better suit you than, I guess, our numerous options that we currently have downtown that may also meet your needs?
Thank you. That's a great question. It's all about the relationship with New Beginnings Church. And so, like I said earlier in my testimony, Cindy Keitlinger from New Beginnings mentored me when I first started my practice. And we've maintained a relationship with that church continuously. And so as Pastor Julie testified, it was about them passing on the heart and soul of why they wanted to have a church there in Titusville in the first place, is they asked us to come in and provide services to help the citizens of Titusville. We weren't looking for a building in Titusville. This was a relationship thing with the church.
Okay. And I guess a follow-up to that, and we don't need to get into the weeds with this, but is there privacy requirements, like maybe HIPAA, that you will need, like individual offices or rooms, for lack of a better word?
The church is actually set up perfectly for our needs, besides the handicap accessible restroom. So outside and inside, there would be no structural changes. So the outside, the only difference would be from the New Beginnings sign to our sign, and inside would be the addition of the handicap accessible restroom, which there's already a restroom there. It would be just taking up more space. Other than that, there's no changes. The building is exactly as it's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we go to public input? All right, I'm assuming that everybody that's listed there, like iPhone supportive neighbor, are you going to speak in relation to this? Or Kathy? Skip, the people that are listed on the right, are they in here now?
Okay, yes, the public is in here now. If you want public participation now,
Okay.
probably should call them one at a time so they don't talk over each other.
Okay, is there a Kathy N here? Kathy? I also see an iPhone supportive neighbor. Is there somebody here that wants to speak? How about, there's a Sarah. Would you like to speak, Sarah?
I would, ma'am.
Okay.
Here, hold on a second.
Could you state your name, please, so the court reporter can get all the information down, please, Sarah?
My name is Sarah Ziegler. It's Zeigler. And I actually live at 517 North Perry Street, and I can see the church from my front door. So I was made aware of the petition to go against the hand in hand coming in. And I just had one question for Miss, is it Dodds from Hand in Hand?
Miss Dodd?
Yes, I'm here.
I just had a question for you. If you were not offered the church, would these services be made available to Titusville residents, or would it be something that would not materialize around here?
I've always had a heart for Titusville, and I felt like they've been underserved in terms of by being part of Venango County and Crawford County. And so I've always had kind of my eye there. But at this point in time, if this conversation hadn't happened with the church, no, we wouldn't be looking for having services in Titusville right at this moment.
Okay. So that when I was made aware of the petition, I actually called who's in charge. I forget what title you guys have. To ask what your guys' mission was, what your services were, as someone who has dealt with mental health issues in the past, as far as depression and anxiety, and having to drive to Oil City or Meadville or Erie to get the help, the mental help. I believe that there are a lot of residents in Titusville who can't make that drive and who lack the resources to get the help that a lot of our residents could really use. So I just wanted to come in and say that, the parking, I think even without the parking lot, every time I drive past Elm Street in that section of the block during the day, especially, it seems like there's quite a bit of parking. I don't think, having myself been a beneficiary of mental health services, that, the stigma of mental health and that alone is not enough to stop those services from being in this neighborhood. Because it's not, we're not having Jeffrey Dahmer come in. We're having people who are struggling. We are having people who just need a little extra help and some life skills, and the ability for someone to listen to them and say, this is how you get your life back on track. So I just wanted to come in and say that I don't feel that you guys should be shut out like that.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for your confidence in sharing.
Anything else? Anything else you'd like to say, Sarah?
At this point, no. I think it would benefit Titusville as a whole. I think especially if it's a choice between, getting the variance and not having these services, which, like I said, many people in Titusville, they don't have cars. They can't get, out of town for these things. I would rather have the variance and have these services available to my community.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. I'd like to move on to G. Kelly. Are they here? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, could you state your name?
Here. My name is Gail Kelly, Kelly, and I'm contract with Hand in Hand Christian Counseling in Meadville, Pennsylvania, and we have found them to be a good provider, and I'm just here to support the work that they do. And the woman who spoke before, I applaud you for addressing the stigma that happens with mental health folks. People get a bad taste in their mouth and they think that it is scary individuals, but sometimes it's just our neighbor down the street who might be having some depression and they need someone to talk to. So I would support being able to bring those services to Titusville, because we struggle to get psychiatric services in the Titusville area because the numbers and the ability to serve that population in Titusville. We've tried many times to get providers into the Titusville area, and it hasn't been successful. So I think it's an opportunity to get those services to that community.
Is that all you'd like to say?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a Caitlin Regal here?
Lee,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, the Skip Williams, zoning inspector. If you would please, when you get in the name, also get the address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Back up and get the addresses for the previous two before you move on.
Miss Kelly, are you still there? Okay. I'm sorry. Dan Wells, are you here?
Yes, 15724 Stevens Drive, Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Okay, you can say what you need to say.
No, you asked for Gail Kelly's address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, did you get that, Miss Stenographer?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a Dan Wells here? How about a Caitlin Regal? A Bill Schnell?
Bill Shell.
I'm sorry. Can you state your name and address for the stenographer, please?
Yes, my name is William Shell, and I live at 113 Washington Avenue, Will City, PA.
You can speak now.
I currently am an employee with Hand in Hand. I'm the community living specialist who works with people who live in the community that deal with mental health issues. And basically what I do is help them with their everyday life skills. And they're as normal as everybody else. They could be your neighbor. They're nice people. They just need a little extra helping hand. As far as Hand in Hand itself goes, it's a good organization that basically just tries to help people. We do a real good job at it. Darla really cares about the people that we do work with, and we're just here to help other people. That's all I had to say.
Thank you very much for your comments. I would like to move on. Is there a Dorothy Bickel?
Okay, whoever's got the Win 10 user needs to mute themselves, unless you're the next speaking.
Dorothy Bickel?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Dorothy Bickel, and my address is 16320 Rossville Road, Pleasantville.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
I am not a consumer of hand-in-hand counseling, but I have been a consumer of mental health services in the past. And I do know that there is a very limited availability of mental health services in Titusville and surrounding areas. I do know there is also a huge stigma around mental health. You hear the words mental health and everybody goes, oh no, not in my neighborhood. We all know that there's a huge drug problem in the Titusville area. There are poverty issues in the Titusville area. There is COVID-19 in the Titusville area. And all of those things impact the mental health of the overall community, as well as individuals that live in our community. What I understand of the Hand in Hand Counseling Organization is they do good work. They do good work helping individuals and communities not only understand their own mental health, but understand themselves in relation to their community. They help individuals become strong members of their communities. And what I've heard a lot of this evening at this hearing is not in my neighborhood. The mental health issues are already in our neighborhoods and already in our community. Having an organization that is willing to come and be open to helping members of our community, I say yes. Yes, please. And I know it's not in my yard, and I know it's not next door to my house. I know it's not even on my street. But let's support those who are supporting us.
Does that conclude your statement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a MaryAnn here? How about Nancy Wright?
Yes.
Okay, could you give your name and address to the court reporter, please?
Yes, my name is Nancy Wright. I live at 215 West Elm Street, Titusville, PA 16354. Just want to let you know, I also have somebody here that would like to speak after me. We're in the same room, just like Julie and Skip Welling are there together. One of my neighbors is here with me, so she would like to speak after me, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
First, I just want to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to talk tonight. And I'm really offended by the people in Titusville have a bug up their butt and that we are against mental health and we're hostile, that Ms. Dodd said. We're not hostile. I've used mental health services. My children have. I work in the school district. We're looking at already having services that are here in town. There are counselors, there are social workers, there are different organizations. So it's not a question of a need. My neighbors found heroin needles in the bushes. We know there are drug addicts in our neighborhood that are walking by. We're not blind to the COVID. We're not blind to any of that. Our issue is the way this was handled, and then certainly trying to protect our quiet little neighborhood. And I think one piece that was completely missed were those pictures. That church is 10 feet from one of our neighbors' houses, not mine, but one of my neighbors. And to the point with the driveways, there are no driveways on the south side of the 200 block of West Elm. There are no driveways to be blocked. And if you're looking at 11 to 12 parking spaces, that's fine. I park, many of us, we use the alley or the side streets. So it's not all of those issues. Over years and years, we've had a good relationship with that church. And I'm a short timer. I've only lived there over 17 years. Some of my neighbors have been there for over 60 years. That's what we're talking about. So the folks that are calling in from Meadville, the Royal City, saying, when are all these things happen? We get you. We hear that. We know the needs there. We're not against you or mental health or the help for anyone. That is not what we're talking about. Excess traffic, security, driveways, playgrounds. The playground hasn't been touched, so we're dismantling part of that this fall. Things have been moved and changed. We have lots of issues with it being a business coming into our neighborhood, as many other businesses have in this town, that quickly change, including the counseling services that have changed throughout the years, and I know that personally. So those are the things that we're really looking at. Once this variance changes, we can't go back. There's no going back once this happens. That's our issue. And we expect to either table it or to cancel it completely. We are all against it, adamantly against it. So we have many neighbors that are looking at this as a business and charging fees. We have churches, local churches, that are willingly offering their services and counseling, willingly opening their doors for after-school programs and evening programs and weekends. Multiple churches that are within walking distances, not only of our homes, but of other homes in the community. Low to moderate, Mr. Welling said. That's our neighborhood, low to moderate. And we want to support our mental health and all the other issues, but it doesn't seem like this is the right place for it. But we feel like it's just being rushed. We're going to take out a lease, we're going to change it to parking. I mean, we feel like it's out of control. That's more of our issue. To go on and say we have a bug up our butt, excuse me, that's very offensive. And that we're against mental health? Wrong. I work in the mental health field over 40 years with special ed and special needs. You're talking to the wrong group of people here. And our local realtor just said you have how many open spaces with available parking. We're not against you in any way. Please don't be offended and don't walk away tonight thinking we're offended. It is about paying for these things when it can be offered free in our churches. And our local YMCA that has these classes, our YW, and many churches that are offering that counseling. That's what we're looking at. Sure, some of them may not be certified, but they're still available to our folks, and that's what we'd like. I really don't have anything else to say, but my neighbor would like to, so I'm going to move the camera and the microphone near her. Thank you.
Thank you.
You just talk to her. State your name and you take your mask off. Okay, move the camera.
Hello?
My name is Mary Beth Maudlin. I live at 225 West Elm, which is right across from the main entrance. I have lived there for 77 years and with the Lutheran Church and the present church, new beginning there was no problem. It was a wonderful church. They came over and helped me rake. I gave them donation for their work, and I really appreciated it. But this is no place to have counseling and that type of work. It is a residential area. I have talked to the neighbors. They do not want it. We have a new neighbor across the street, right next to the church on Elm, who have moved here from California. And they have children. They don't want it. The people, the lady across from me on Perry is a widow. I am a widow. And we keep our doors locked. But this day and age, you don't know what is going on, and somebody can go off on a tangent, and we do not want our neighborhood bothered by this. There are plenty of places in town that we have looked at that have parking, and they're just waiting for a tenant. And we do not need to change our beautiful area there to have this in there when they can go into a commercial thing. And also the children from Main Street School and the other schools come up Washington Street over Elm on the side of the church usually, and they go to the park for either lunch or recreation for a couple hours in the spring, and the teachers bring them back the same way, and the kids are out there with their skateboards and their bikes, and they're going back and forth. The older boys have basketball, which they take to the park, and I do not feel that this should be changed just to accommodate this when it can really go downtown. And none of the people that we have talked to want it at all, and I'm afraid it's going to affect our property, and if that goes, then we're going to hopefully do something and get our taxes down, because I'm on the corner there. I pay a huge amount of tax, and it's not worth it to have them parked on Elm. I'm going to have work done on the house this year. Due to the virus, I couldn't get them last year. They're coming this year. They got trucks, ladders, and they'll be parking on Elm. I have a fella who does my lawn and shovels my walk, and he has 2 trucks and a big wagon with equipment on it. He parks on Elm, and he has said before, going up Perry and up Elm, he oftentimes has a lot of trouble parking. And this will not go when we have leaves to pick up in the street in the fall. And with cars parked there, the city does not take care of them. We pick up our own. And when we're cutting the lawns and the cars are parked there, it'd be very difficult, and it has to be done. And I just feel that if you look into properties in town, that you will find something suitable in a lot better area than the one you're choosing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is Christy Bowles here? Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I would like to. My name's, sorry. Go ahead, Christy.
Christy? Or Samantha? Someone, I don't know who's here. Samantha, would you like to speak now?
Yes, this is Samantha Rittiger. It's Ritteger. I live at 15769 Inlet Road, Meadville, PA, 16335. Thank you for letting me speak tonight, everyone. First of all, I just wanted to address mental illness does not equate to violence. I've heard a lot of people, tonight just mentioning the safe neighborhood, the quiet neighborhood. And I get that. Like, I live in the country. I love my peace and quiet. I love my space. Introverts unite. But I don't see the mental illness, unless you're in it, like we all are. I forgot to mention I am a employee of Hand in Hand. I work at Renewed Life Haven. And unless you're in it, you don't see that the media perpetuates this idea of mental illness and that they are violent and that they're scary. I can't remember her name, I apologize, but the woman that was just speaking about, the families have children, there are widows that live there. You don't know these people that are coming into your neighborhood. I understand the fear, and I don't want to say that it's misplaced, but it's violence and, talking about having children and widows and safety. This is a daytime hours, community service that is being offered for Titusville. If we have, Darla spoke about having the after hours program set up for the youth. Those children are welcome to come. They're welcome to use these services. If there's anyone in the community that couldn't come, like Sarah said, to a place downtown or to somewhere in Oil City, this is a place that's closer for them. I understand the business being right next door would, kind of be a little heartening for you. Nobody likes loud noises. Nobody likes to have a lot of bustle going on during the day if you are, at your house and enjoying yourself. That's not something that I've seen with our other places. That's not something that I see with the people that we serve. And I was just thinking earlier, we love to say in the mental health field, 1 in 4 have a mental illness. And I see there's about 30 people on this call, so probably 7 of us have at some point in our life or currently are struggling with our mental health. And to be able to say, there are other places downtown that we could use, that may be, but this place is set up perfectly for the services that we want to offer for the community. And as far as the parking goes, that one, I do feel that could be a solution that we already have with that other parcel. That's something that, Darla and I don't know if it's Skip, we have to discuss that. There are solutions to these issues that are coming up. And I feel that the services that the company will be offering will be more beneficial to the residents, even those living on Elm Street and Perry, not just, for Crawford. Like Darla said, Titusville seems to be let out a lot of times on services for Crawford, Venango. And I feel like this would bring a lot of what Titusville needs. And there was something else I was going to equate in there, but I don't remember right now. I apologize. But also, I did see a comment. I believe it was Mr. Wells was asking about the web page. And as Alex explained in the comments, there is a new web page we're currently working on, so that we can get some more information out to the public, so that anyone can look us up. You can look up our services. meet the staff, and really get to know us. That is something that we've been working on for probably, I'd say, at least a few months, maybe 6 months. And as an employee, I am fairly new. I just started this past spring. And someone had mentioned the poor reviews earlier, and I would like to just note on that. I am a member of the public image team for Hand in Hand. So I took that kind of to heart. Those poor reviews, we have to remember that when there are employees that come in and for whatever reason they are let go, there's a lot of anger that comes up. And I have seen the reviews myself that have been put out. And I really feel that these are some employees that were expressing their own anger against Darla and the company. I haven't had experience, any of the experiences that they're talking about in these reviews. I have seen this company bend over backwards to help the people that we serve and to make sure that we are reaching as many people as we possibly can. And that concludes what I had to say.
Thank you very much, Samantha. Is there a Tammy here that would like to speak?
Yes, thank you. My name is, I think I'm listed as Tamara Hanson Champion there. I live at 418 West Main Street right here in Titusville. I'd just like to point out the fact that you folks who are right now on the zoning board, I don't know if any of you have a memory, but a while ago, there was a lot of talk. There was a planning commission established, and the entire zoning map of Titusville was reworked according to current guidelines, okay? And according to those guidelines, a space for every kind of use was to be provided for in our city. And that includes even sexually oriented business. Okay, so there's a place for all of that already laid out. And the fact that someone wants to come in and change the zoning, okay, now Ms. Dodds already stated that she's had a number of different locations and her business is evolving and using different places. Once you come to that location on Elm Street, and are you to leave because you don't like the lease or something doesn't work out, the zoning is going to remain in place. That means anyone else in there is going to have the same privileges that you have. And we understand you have great track records with your communities. However, you are laying a groundwork for future people who are coming in there. And folks who live there in a place that was zoned residential with very specific guidelines. Also, the fact that the second parcel that quote unquote may become a parking lot, I believe that would need a separate variance. If it's not the same property, that's other variance. And the gentleman who's the zoning guy said, you know, you need to talk about setback, you need to talk about drainage. I don't even know, Ms. Dodds, if it's going to be economically feasible for you or the church to pay for all those things to make this space ideal, quote unquote ideal, for your location. There are many, many other places in town. There are many, many other people who walk, you know, currently to all the businesses in town to get their groceries and get their cigarettes and get their lottery tickets. And everyone is going to be able to access services within our city limits, no matter where you go. The fact that we are saying we do not want to allow variances to the current zoning, we're just asking you to respect the current zoning that we have and understand that anything that is changed is going to go on in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a Renee Neely present? How about anybody else?
Hello.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Would you like to make some comments?
I would.
Okay. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Renee Neely. I live at 717 West Front Street, Oil City, PA. And I currently work at Hand in Hand. At the location I work, I I work in the Franklin office. Above the Franklin office is our Challenge Center. Our Challenge Center is where people come and they have the classes and they learn skills, and they attend classes and things to better themselves. Well, I work downstairs in the office downstairs. This area is so quiet and so contained, you can't even hear upstairs from downstairs while these classes are going on. Because it's a very calm, cool atmosphere. I definitely think Titusville would benefit from this. I actually have a house I purchased recently in Titusville. So I've drove by the location and I've driven around the block, and I don't see where it's very busy. I don't see where it's all parked up. It is a peaceful area. Do I think it would be any less peaceful? No, I absolutely do not. I think it would be beneficial. I have a child with mental illness, and of course you would know it. But she was very excited that something like this would come to the town and she'd be able to participate in it. Is it, like I said, our locations that we have now, like I said, I work downstairs in the office and they're upstairs. It's like a family. We're very family oriented. It's like a very, very family oriented program. It's a very family oriented organization. I mean, we have a separate room. We help in the community in any way we can. We have a separate room just for an apartment starter, just because if there's anyone that would move out, whether mental illness or not, that would need something in the community, it would go to them. So we're all about the community, helping the community, and being very respectful in the community, everyone. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes, this is Don Frazier.
Okay.
Yes, Don Frazier, 206 West Elm Street and also 210 West Elm Street. I have been a resident here in my home since July of 1977. I know this neighborhood very well. People moved into this neighborhood for what it was and is, okay? We have recently had people move in from Pittsburgh, and as one woman said, from California, trying to escape some of the things there. And listen, this neighborhood is not callous about mental health, okay? The thing is we just don't think that's the right place for the thing. So let's look at some of the things here that we've heard about in between the lines. We've been charged as being callous and something up our butt and stuff like that. That's a real amount of professionalism from somebody who's trying to take and provide professional services for these people that do need help, okay? I also know the status of things, of how all this stuff came about. It was the Lutheran Church. As the senior members of it, it was not renewed with younger people and stuff like that. So their attendance declined and stuff like that. In 2012, when New Beginnings bought the church up here, okay, fine. For the first couple years, they were pretty nice. They came out and did things with the family. As Mrs. Maudlin said, they came down the street here. They raked our leaves, us seniors and things, and we donated money back to them into their youth programs. Now, you also heard that, and I don't mean to be facetious with this pun, but there is some kind of hand in hand and Ms. Lamberson and this church, okay? So apparently what's going on with this church, okay, if you look between the lines, is that they can't probably afford the thing anymore, so therefore they need to take and get revenue to take, and this is just a summation. I don't have the proof of that, but stop and think about that. They talk about right now that they're currently leasing it. So what services are they already providing in that church without a variance in place? I'm concerned about that. So did they just take and say to the zoning boards, well, we started to do something to begin with, and here it is. We also heard that that if it wasn't for this church, that Hand in Hand wouldn't be coming here. So let me ask you this: are you really committed to Titusville? If you didn't have the church, you wouldn't be here. There are enough other properties around that have adequate parking and things like that that you don't have to bring a commercial entity. And you are a commercial entity. Even though on your website you say you're not for profit. The other thing, oh yes, I've looked at your website. There's a thing on there. You have 18 services listed. It says, but not limited to. You just now had some testimony from one person, one of your employees, that, oh, you've got an apartment or something to that effect. At what point in time will you go further and create something here? Once you get the variance, what's to take and stop you from going further that the local neighborhood cannot stop anymore? We have no problem with it being a church. We have no problem with mental health people coming in and citing that. You've got YMCAs, you've got YWCAs, you have, why not talk to the administrator up here at the hospital, Mr. Clinton? I'm sure. We used to have, coming downtown to this, the park building, mental health people from Meadville would come over. I don't know whether that's still in place, but it's our neighborhood, okay? People moved into here for a reason. And now you're moving in here to either can support somebody because they can't take and make the payment. And that's another thing for the zoning people to think about here. Who is actually owning this property? Is the church going to sell the property someday, or are they leasing the property? And then what's the church going to do? They say they have a congregation and they might want to do things. So is Hand in Hand going to eventually buy the place and then take and lease it back to Sunday services? The problem here is that all of a sudden you come to town, so to say, and you show up in some of our mailboxes, and not all the mailboxes were done. We know that Ms. Wright didn't get one. I have another neighbor across the street who has an apartment building with 4 apartments in the thing. She said she didn't get one. Now, I do know that on zoning laws and stuff, you typically say that, oh, just you talk to the adjacent or adjoining properties, okay? Well, that's okay for a fence. This is more than a fence, okay? And the thing is here is I don't think any of these people in this community, nor this neighborhood, and I believe from what was stated here on that that Mr. Welling gave on that, and which I did sign, that petition, that was a block, it was a full block either way. I'm sorry. There are other places for you to do this. I truly hope that you can find some other place. But my recommendation to the zoning board and also to the city itself is no, not here. And I'm sorry if it does sound something like not in my backyard. We came here and moved into these things because of what we had, okay? Now you're asking us to take and change certain things. And so now are certain people supposed to move on? I've got people around the corner. There's a house for sale on the corner. When they find out about things, I don't know how the realtor is going to explain that to them, although many of you have, and many of you tonight are employees of Hand in Hand or the church or some other type of a thing. Your building right now in Franklin isn't commercial property. So all I can say to you, and I say to the zoning people here, is you better review it well. And the fact is that the community, this neighborhood community, spoke via that petition, and we wish that you would honor it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Okay, go ahead. State your name and address, please, for the stenographer.
My full name is Carl Alex Bickel. I'm at 393 Dunham Road in Pleasantville, PA. I went to school and grew up around Titusville and with people in Titusville, and have seen, firsthand how quickly, the mental health and other issues that are in the town have affected everybody in the community. Businesses are leaving. The money isn't there for the town. Services aren't being provided the way that they're supposed to be. We keep hearing people making the statements of, why don't we just put it down in the business district? I want everybody to think about what's in the business district. There's bar after bar after bar. Not only that, there's also the stigma that we all know is there. And people are not going to be willing to do services if they're right downtown where everybody can see them going in and out of the building. Whether it's to get help that they definitely need, or just that little pick-me-up to be able to get through to the next day. They don't need to have those people looking over their back that they're already worried about being judged for. The other part about this is, I worked in the residential for a while through Hand in Hand, and then I worked at the Challenge Center, the upstairs part where that Renee Shields worked through. They are some of the quietest people there are. They, even when they're outside having a cigarette and talking in between services, they keep everything down. They're very helpful people. They're our friends, our neighbors, our siblings. They're all these people that we already know, that we already associate with. Some of the people that I worked with at the Challenge Center were more educated than I was, but they had issues that they needed addressed. That mental health does not specifically deal with, one group of people. It can affect anybody. And not having proper services in an area, that can be gotten to easily, and it's not out in the open for everybody to gawk at, is very difficult for these people when it's already difficult enough to go and seek these services. So all I really wanted to say is that, this is for the community. This isn't for a business. It's to help the community. It's to help the people that are in the community, and, maybe make this a better town to live in. That concludes my statement.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I'd like to speak.
Okay, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Mike Frasina, and I live at 380 Arch Street, Meadville, PA. I'm the administrator out at Renewed Life Haven, part of Hand in Hand. What I'd like to speak about is that I've worked as a drug and alcohol therapist in Deerfield. I've also been over in Titusville as a family-based counselor. I've done therapeutic foster home treatment there, and I've also been there as a CYS investigator. Interesting thing that I'm hearing from everybody is, we're talking about this variance thing. And yet in that same neighborhood, I've been there in capacity and dealt with people on every street in Titusville, including the ones we're talking about right now. A lot of people aren't aware that their neighbors maybe have some problems there that they don't tell them about. And that's an important issue. One of the things that I see happening with us coming there, I was also part of the church plant, too, that got that to Titusville from New Beginnings. There seems to be more about the variance than anything else. about what's going to change there, who's going to move in there if we're not there, and what's going to happen after that. And I tell you, I believe we're going to be there for a while. I mean, that's what Darla Dodds does. That's what Hand in Hand does. They don't move in and move out. They're there for the long run. The town needs a lot of support. I've tried to get services for people I've worked with in Titusville. There's nothing there for them to access. You can talk about things in other churches that they're doing for free. But the truth is, sometimes that's not enough. The services that Darla would bring there would help this and benefit this community in untold ways. One of the things that I've talked to Darla about is there's a group from my church that I go to right now called Embrace Grace. They would like to come over and at no charge, let me emphasize that, to start to help young, pregnant, unwed mothers who have no resources and are making a decision right now as to whether they're going to abort or keep their child. That's the kind of services we're talking about, people coming in and helping out. People coming in and volunteering to help out with some of the skills they have and some of the knowledge that they can share with your community. I think it's a shame that we're talking about what's going to happen in this building here with variances. It's about the services and the people that provide the services, nothing more. People that come in there that are going to maybe access services there, they walk through those streets as it is now. They're all over Titusville. So you're not going to see any new faces coming through there. You're going to see the same faces. I find it interesting that we're talking about this neighborhood here, and a few blocks away, 2 blocks from the police station, there were 3 meth houses that were shut down. I never read or heard anything about anybody complaining about that. It's all over the place. That's why you need the help in Titusville. Somebody needs to step up to the plate, and Darla is offering to step up to the plate, and I applaud her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes, I would. Nancy Wright, 215 West Elm Street again. I just wanted to follow up and say thank you for your time. And our neighbors would like to thank the board for going back and reviewing the exhibits and the documents, especially the one that was written by our lawyers and the 2 different petitions. And I apologize. I realize I signed both of them. They are 2 separate petitions, and 2 different people took those around our neighborhood. Again, we appreciate it. And thank you for your time for reviewing it. And we certainly hope that you can vote no for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Is it possible that I could address a couple of the questions that came up throughout the different things?
Sure.
Okay, so there was a question, are we providing any services at the site of 220 West Elm Street at this time? No, we are not. We've been in a lease agreement with the church since October, and actually all we've done is clean the place. We have not done anything else to the place or in the place. There was also a question about, okay, why can't you just go downtown? I think the idea about having a vacant church, a vacant building sitting on the corner of this beautiful neighborhood is more risky than bringing in a mental health service to be able to help people better themselves. An empty building is a target for meth labs. It's a target for those beautiful stained glass windows to be graffitied or rocks thrown through them. And somebody squatting in the place. There's so much risk with an empty building in any of our cities, or especially residential areas. And I just think that's a huge risk. And for the neighbor who sits 10 feet behind the church, the good news is they sit at the back of the church, and so there actually isn't any activity in or out of the doors on the back side of the church, which faces their property. There's actually a hedge between the two, and there isn't any way to even kind of interact back there in that side of the property. But I do appreciate all the concerns and all the things in favor. I appreciate those with mental health challenges to have the courage to come here and speak. We are here to help if the community will have us, and we will serve you well, and we will be a good neighbor. I just thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Dodds. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Hi, Erin Burkhart, address 2442 Fairview Drive, Lucinda, PA. An employee of Hand in Hand. Actually, all I would like to say is the benefits of providing a service to Titusville. We have served Venango, Crawford, and Mercer counties throughout the years. Hand in Hand has been established long before my time. I've been there for at least 7 years. And some of the benefits that I see for your community personally is teaching residents how to live life, really giving back to the community, instilling hope that we can recover. From what I have seen working with individuals, they're like you and me. They're my mom, they're my grandma, they're my dad. I just want to give the community a chance to have jobs in the community. All we do is come in and teach people how to live life to the well-being. So giving jobs, rebuilding families, fostering hope, helping people buy their first home or renewing their first lease on their apartment, giving life to the community that has struggled with mental health issues is what I want to do for you. So hopefully we can rebuild that community, or I don't want to say rebuild a community because your community sounds strong, honestly. They're coming together, they're speaking up, regardless if they're on our side or not. But I really want to come together as a whole and start building a community that favors wellness and hope and life. So that's all I have to say. Oh, and since being at Hand in Hand for about 7 years up in Franklin, we have made really, really great neighbors. They come to us. We have so many people that come and just share what they need, what they want in our community. They're not part of our services. We have so many annual events with them just to get them involved and show them our services. So it's not like you and us. It's just us as a community together building this strong foundation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to make a statement?
This is Don Frazier again, if I may make one comment here.
Sure.
It would be nice to know, what is the arrangement here is, because it was brought up before, is you go to Crawford County's GIS and stuff like that, and you can see that the deeds and stuff like that are in nonprofit, okay, because it's a church. So if I have difficulty, okay, in a church having property, leasing what I would say somewhat commercial that may charge services and stuff like that, still being off the tax rolls and stuff like that, all those types of things. There was one other thing here too, and I don't mean to be facetious on this, but anyways, we talk about some of the comments that were online and stuff about it, and one lady said it might have been, employees and stuff as they left. Well, you're in the service also, and I know it's difficult because I worked with 300 and some people, that maybe you need to take and help and get in touch with their feelings and why would they say the certain things that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a statement? Is there any board members that would like to ask any other questions?
Lee,
yes.
Hold on a second, please.
Yeah, this is Julie Lamberson. There was some questions about the taxes and the parcels. Just to be clear, the parcel that has the church building on it, that parcel is the only parcel that is tax exempt. We are currently paying tax on the other parcel. And so I don't know what will change with the county if this variance goes through and hand in hand is there. But if that means that we have to pay taxes after that happens, then the church is fine with doing that. Whatever we need to do. But that's how the property parcels and the exemption is currently.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak before we continue?
Hi, Lee. Can you hear me? It's James
Yes, I
Elliott
can.
from the board.
Go ahead.
I just
Go ahead,
had 2 questions, or maybe just one question actually. Could the church take on the hand-in-hand services themselves? If hand-in-hand was denied a variance tonight, could the church that's there now take on hand-in-hand services on their own? Maybe that's a question for Skip.
I can try and answer that. I don't know if you can hear me.
Go ahead, Jim.
What, did you hear me, Skip?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jim asked a question. I was going to answer.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear
you. You asked the question if the church could do what hand in hand is doing.
Yeah.
No, we could not. Currently, we have counseling services, drug and alcohol services that takes place in Meadville. I have talked with the director. Her name is Cindy Keitlinger. I have talked with her on several occasions when I was pastoring the church there. There's things that are required when you have a counseling center. You have to have some private areas that are specifically because of HIPAA. You have to have, so we would have had to have taken part of the church itself and had an area that was set aside specifically just for the counseling. And she did not have any counselors at the time that could come to Titusville. They're already being used in Meadville. And so, no, if hand in hand doesn't come in, the church would not be able to do that.
Okay. Well, my question was more along the line of, could the church legally just hire hand in hand to do it so that hand in hand wasn't a separate business? And that would be a question, of course, for maybe the city solicitor or for Skip.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to mention, I heard Don Frazier's comments, and I personally want to say I think that Skip does an excellent job as a zoning officer. I think that he goes out and tries to make sure that everything is done properly, and I know that he got a lot of letters from the public, so I don't know that he would miss anything. He's very, I don't know what the correct word is, but he does his job. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any other members that would like to ask any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion that we grant or deny hand-in-hand counseling a variance for the permitted uses of the codified ordinances of Titusville, Pennsylvania?
I'll make a motion to deny the variance.
Do I have a second?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Now I'd like to call the roll. Miss Bonnie Hall, yay or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Joseph Roddy?
Yay.
Mr. Jim Elliott?
No.
Mr. Joe Cobble?
Yes.
And Lee Kafel? No. Okay, so we have a 3-2. And is there any other comments or anything anybody else would like to say before we adjourn the meeting?
I just want to thank James Elliott. I just want to thank my other board members for coming out and going through this 2-hour meeting. I think everybody did a fantastic job. Thanks.
Jim, would you like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
Yes, I'll make a motion we adjourn it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And this meeting is adjourned. I just want to thank everyone for coming out and speaking on this behalf, and thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Give me a call at the office and
Okay, will do. Thank you very, very much, everyone.